So we started talking about this last week, and just to give a review, Malbim opened up with a couple of introductory remarks, talking about how a king comes to power. And he says it comes to power in one of two ways. Either he's elected by the people, and therefore he serves the people, or he conquers a land and he appoints himself as ruler. Once he becomes a king, he can then establish his kingdom in one of two ways. His kingdom is either a limited monarchy, which is typically that of an elected monarch, so therefore he has to abide by a certain system of rules and regulations. Or if he conquers a land by conquest, then he could establish an unlimited monarchy, which is essentially no rules, no regulations, no following anybody's orders, doing whatever he wants whenever he wants to do it. So the 5 distinctions that Malbim discussed were the limited versus unlimited. Is that the limited one serves the people, he fights their wars, he does their taxes, but any kind of decision making really has to do with, it's really a system of checks and balances. But for an unlimited monarchy, the people are his slaves, and they all do his bidding, right? He's not serving them, they're serving him. The second thing is national treasuries. It's the question of whom do they belong. If it's an unlimited monarch, they belong to me. Everything's mine. If it's a limited monarchy, then it's the national treasuries. The money belongs to the people, and it's for purposes of serving the people. I said number 3 a little bit, number 1, but the decision and legislation is done with or without the agreement of certain other elected officials. So in a limited monarchy, it's with their consent, and in unlimited monarchy, it's without. The king does what he wants to do. Then we also said that the number 4 is that if in limited monarchy, the king is bound by the laws of the land. He has to operate within the rules and regulations and practices that the land has. Whereas if he is an unlimited monarchy, he does, again, whatever he'd like to do. The other thing, the 5th difference, is in terms of the capital city. Okay? That if he is a limited monarch, he cannot choose where his capital city in his kingdom is going to be established. If he's elected by the people, this is where you're going to sit and be king. But if he's an unlimited monarch, he can move the capital city to wherever he'd like to move the capital city. So anybody who was here last week will remember that that's actually one of the very first things Achashverosh does when he becomes king, is he decides to move the capital city, which was in Bavel, to Shushan. So first it's interesting that the only time Achashverosh is referred to without the title HaMelech Achashverosh is in the first pasuk, which describes Achashverosh just without the title. Vahibi Achashverosh, hu Achashverosh. He was Achashverosh, no title. And the reason is because the Chazal tell us that he was a commoner, Hedyot. He was just somebody who was just like everybody else. But he was very wealthy, and he was very, he had a lot of talent, I guess, in terms of fighting and conquering lands, and he very, very quickly came to power, and very, very quickly dominated 127 provinces. And so it doesn't say HaMelech Achashverosh because it was like, whoa, where'd this guy come from? He was just this commoner guy, and now he's ruling all this land. This is crazy. It happened so quickly that everybody remembered he was this commoner. It wasn't like a slow, gradual process of becoming king. So the other thing we said was that in order to be accepted by the people and to really firmly establish his kingship, he marries Vashti, who herself had a certain heiress. She was an heiress to the throne. She was a descendant, thank you, of Nebuchadnezzar, and so she has, in her own right, a certain right to the throne. So he marries her to sort of establish his kingship entirely. But the undertones throughout the entire Megillah, and especially as we're going to see in the beginning, and we spent a lot of time last class doing this, is showing how Achashverosh has really just one plan, and that is establishing himself as an unlimited monarch. And that's what he first does by moving the capital to Shushan. We kind of explained it through Malbim last week. I'm not going to get too much into it, but that's what he does the first thing. And then that's also what kind of is the impetus to make this very long party of 180 days. To show, again, if all is wealth, to show the national treasuries are mine. I'm going to do with them whatever I please. And I'm going to invite whoever I want to invite. And he also tries to equalize all of the people who are operating underneath him. And that's what Malbim pointed out last week, how we looked into the Psukim, and it says that Achashverosh invites all of his servants before it mentions inviting all the governors and all the bigger people, because he wants to equate everybody. Under me, you're all the same. You're all my slaves. Okay, so let's see, did we say anything else? Okay, so first we have a party that lasts 180 days, and then we have an additional party, a second party, that lasts 7 days. So to review the questions, and I'm going to do them in English just for time purposes. So the questions are, what's the purpose of this second banquet, that 7-day banquet, for the people that can be found in Shushan? If we look at the pasuk, it's probably helpful. we're going to start from Pasuk Hey, the 5th verse, which if you're following in the Hebrew, it's going to be the very bottom of page 2. We got page numbers this time. And if you're following in the English, it's page 9. Bottom of page 8, page 9. Oh, you need that one. I'm going to pass this one to you. Oh, yes. Is this extra? Oh, yeah. There you go. Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Pasuk Hey tells us, and I think I mentioned this last class, but just to review for everybody who's just joined, the way that the Malbim is divided up in the English text is not, first of all, it's not a word-for-word translation. This is the English by Rabbi Taub, Jonathan Taub, put together. It's fantastic. It's not word-for-word. And also, he divides the questions and commentary up by pasuk versus the Hebrew edition of Malbim, the original text of Malbim, which he gives all the questions on a few psukim, and then he gives all the answers on that whole group of psukim. So we were in the middle of discussing it, but just because I'm going to start in the middle of Hey, he already asked all the questions. So the question, first looking at the pasuk, verse number 5. So it's Ugim Loas Hayamim, and again we're talking about the days of the party, and it says Ugim Loas Hayamim Ha'ila. And when these days were completed, Asa HaMelech L'chol Ha'am Hanimtza'im B'Shushan Habira, that the king made a 7-day feast for all the people who were present in Shushan, the capital. L'migadol ve'ad katan mishteh shiv'as yamim b'chatzar ginach bisan HaMelech. So he made a feast for all the people who were present in Shushan, the capital, great and small alike, in the courtyard of the garden of the king's palace. So it's interesting where this banquet takes place, and that's what we're going to look at right now. Let's look at, actually, you know what, let's finish the section. So then he says, Pasuk Vav, Chur Karpas Utcheles. There were hangings of fine cotton, Achuz Chad So turquoise wool held with cords of fine linen and purple wool. Al Galile Kesef Amudei Sheish B'Kos Sahava Kesef Al Ritzpas Bahat Bashesh V'Dar V'Suchar. So lots of descriptions. So there are these cords of fine linen and purple wool upon silver rods with marble pillars, the couches of gold and silver on a pavement of variegated marble. That's the English. Interesting, by the way, because these couches are also called, if you look it up, which one is it?
Divan.
Yeah, they're called divans, which is, you know what that is?
The Russian word for couch.
Right, it's an open, backless, armless chair, which is interesting. Well, I want to kind of pick up a theme that I kind of picked up on a little bit in terms of the descriptions of the party. Let's see if everyone else agrees with me. So then it says, Hashkos b'chlei zahav v'kelim v'kelim shonim v'yin malchus rav kiyad hamelech. And the drinking was according to the law. Yeah. The drinks were served in golden vessels. I'm trying to follow in the English, but it's not really very helpful for me. So the drinks were served in golden vessels of diverse form, and royal wine in abundance, in accordance with the king's wealth. And the drinking was according to the law. There was no coercion. So the king had established for every officer of his house to do according to each man's pleasure. Okay, so let's look at the text. So starting with, again, so we're on line 51, page 2 in the Hebrew. Uvim los, when these days were completed. O hischakim ki be'acharis yemei hamishtesh asa el hasarim asa mishteh klalis l'chol am shushan. So then the king got smart. So again, remember his underlying plot throughout this is to just amass for himself unlimited power. So he got smart, and after this 180-day period of partying ended, for the officers and high officials, he made a second party, a general party for all the people in Shushan. L'horos ki katan v'gadol shavim etzlo ki hulam avadav, ve'in la'achar hisnasu l'chavero. In order to show that he equated small and old, or young and old alike, they were all equal to him, because they were all his servants, and nobody should be elevated above their friend. Ve'al zeh amar mi gadol ve'ad katan, and that's why the pasuk specifies from gadol to katan, not katan to gadol, from great to small, not small to great. L'hashavos hagadol el hakatan, to equalize the great with the not so great, with the small. And it's interesting, by the way, as pointed out, that in Persian etiquette there was very much this hierarchy of honor and respect and power, that people who were older and who had greater positions did deserve much greater respect, were served first, did drink before everybody else, did have a special seat at the banquet. And so for Ahasuerus to do this made a very, very big statement, as we'll see at the end of this. So again, why does Malbim picks up on the fact that it says all these people who could be found in Shushan? Just say all the people of Shushan. What does this mean? Who were found there? Because again, remember that at the beginning of the Megillah, he changed the capital city to Shushan, so he's just setting himself up there. He's establishing his throne there in Shushan. So then everybody who's just around, he says, everybody come on in, because the capital's just been established there. And this party was made in the courtyard of the king, a place which, according to Persian custom, the only people who came there were high elected officials, the governors and the high officers. And this was to show that the nation, and the population in general, they were all equal. They were no less important than anybody else. To him, everybody was the same. Meaning that they were all his servants. The Adrab and the opposite, B'nai Shushan, Shesham Kisei HaMalchus, Lahem Yeuz Kavod V'Tiferes Kalkal Hasarim. Certainly, the people of Shushan, who now were the people of his capital city, deserved almost, if not more, honor than the other officers. And these officers, by the way, we mentioned last class, were officers who were in place before Ahasuerus came to power. These are people who were governors of cities before Ahasuerus' reign. So Ahasuerus is now coming in and trying to make them all on the same page. I'm greater than all of you, so to me you're all in the same category. So he's trying to equalize everybody. And if you look back at the pasuk, you can see how he picks up on all of these concepts. So he says, at the end of these days, and again, because he's now just established the capital city in Shushan, so it's all the people who were found there. They weren't necessarily expecting them to be the participants of a special party, because they were not previously part of the capital city. Shushan Havira, that's why it specifies Havira, the capital city of Shushan, right? Again, why are we equalizing the Migadol v'Yad Katan? And they're all together in the Chatzar Ginas B'Shana Melech, because they're all supposed to be equalized. A courtyard that was supposed to be for special elected officials is for everybody, from old to young alike. Okay, let's see what time. I definitely want to get to last. I think we'll be okay. Okay, so Hur. So I think something that we'll pick up on. This is the theme that I picked up on as I read through the details described by the Megillah. You see that most of what Ahasuerus is showing through every detail is a certain sense of no limitation. And it's interesting because that's exactly what he's trying to do. His plot is to earn for himself a position of unlimited monarchy. And throughout every detail of the party, it's all, so to speak, without walls. It's all without borders. Just take a listen, see if you pick up on this also. Okay, so Hur, these are hangings of white. Atach Choshi. Osher V'Hayakar. So now he's going to prove and to show. Now we're going to see what this Osher V'Hayakar, this wealth and this yakar, this preciousness, that is discussed in Pasuk Daled. Asher Ner Elo B'Mishteh Halazeh, that was displayed at this party. Shian Haya B'Chatzar Pasuach B'Li Tikra V'Geder Saviv. It occurred. The setting for this party was in the king's courtyard, which is a place that has no roof or walls. So what do? They spread out these big tents that were made of cotton and turquoise wool. And the cords that tied these tents together were made of fine linen and purple. And these pillars that the tents were connected to, were fastened by, the curtains, the cords of the curtains were from, the pillars were standing on marble, and they stood on, and then that pillar cylinder stood on a silver bottom, a silver base. And these divans that they sat on, they were reclining on, were of gold and silver. And the floor was also from, bahat is alabaster, which is like a dense white mineral stone, and of marble and of precious stones. Again, we talked about these divans that are sort of backless open chairs. And these tents that was in the courtyard, and these tents that, was a place that had no walls and no roof. The hashkos, and we talked again about this, the drinking. There was a lot of drinking at this party. They drank from gold vessels. But not that alone. Not just that they drank from gold vessels, but they all drank from different vessels. Rav Eliezer Ashkenazi, Shebechol Keli Hayu Kavoim Kelim Shonim. He learns from this idea that the Kelim Shonim, that they all had, there was a special kind of utensil that had attached to it a different kind of utensil. What does that mean? Kemo kan zahav shebo hayayin hagviim lishtos bayam. It was like a golden decanter that had a goblet attached to it so a person could drink from it. So each person got their own like wine decanter and a goblet attached to it. And each person got one of these out of gold. Meaning to say that they, for every person, they all had a special utensil to drink from, and each one was made of gold. So nobody had to borrow a vessel from his friend. The Zemora al Rov HaKelim for 180 days. We talked about the foil pans last week, right? And this shows how many vessels he had. Lo tamar shayu HaKelim maspikim ba'avur shelo haya yayin harbe. And the pasuk doesn't tell us that there was enough vessels, right? It doesn't say, there were kelim maspikim. There were enough vessels for everybody. No, because that would mean that there was just a lot of wine. But no, there was an unlimited amount of wine. Malchus Rav, right? Meaning there was just this unlimited supply of wine from the king. Hayayin haya Rav bekamos kiyad hamelech, and there was so much of it, like by the hand of the king. Begam tov beichus. And what did he learn from that idea? That also was of fine quality. Shal amar yayin malchus. That's the description of the wine. That everybody drank in excess because it was of the highest quality. Meaning it wasn't just like everybody felt like, whatever people get drunk at Purim, whatever, something they could tolerate. This is like fine wine that everybody wanted to drink. Again, this was him displaying all the wealth belongs to me. I will do with it whatever I please. And so there was no end to how much he could show that, right? Because this is unlimited power, unlimited monarchy. The hashasiya, and the drinking. And the whole purpose was he wanted the drinking to be without any duress. Because in a party, in a meal, where there aren't enough cups to go around, they're sort of under a certain duress for to finish drinking quickly, so that there's enough utensils to go around. But here, everybody had their own goblet and their own decanter and their own little, whole thing here, and so nobody had to borrow from anybody else. Nobody had to wait. We made the joke last time. You go to someone's wedding, and you literally put your plate down for a second. You turn your back, talk to somebody, and it's already gone. Because they're quickly trying to get it ready for the next. They want to wash it and go home ready. They want to finish. But here, no, everybody had their own. No need to put it down. No need for anybody else to have it. It's yours, and it's nobody else needs it. There's plenty to go around for everybody. Okay. This proves just how many utensils he had there. This is what I kind of mentioned before. And also it happened to have been a proper Persian etiquette to honor the older people present, that they should drink first. Meaning, within the drinking, it was a proper etiquette that those who were older, those who were greater, they would start the drinking party, right? The toast. And he invokes a idea from the Gemara in Brachos 46b. And this is describes how, we kind of mentioned this earlier, that the Persians were very particular at meal times, that they had very steadfast rules of etiquette. Who eats first, who sits where, that everything was very, very specific about showing honor to everybody who was there, to people who were greater hierarchies of power, of position. But here, he didn't trouble himself with this. Rather, everybody drank whatever they wanted for themselves and whatever they wanted. But in order to not offend the older people who were there by, so to speak, forcing them to give up their kavod, their honor, he really made his own people do it first. His own officers had to give in to their honor first. It was an order from the king that they also show, see, everybody here is just friends. We're all just doing this together. So all of his officials had to abide by it also. that made the other people who, I guess, the older adults present and the greater officers present not feel so bad. Look, Ahasuerus's Ahasuerus's servants also have to do this, right? They also have to give up their honor. In order that they, in the way that they were able to forgive the honor that was due them, and that the pasuk says, in order that each person should be able to do to their pleasure. So that's again looking at the last pasuk here. The drinking, there was no duress. Nobody was under pressure to finish quickly because there were enough goblets to go around. Right, and again, he sort of got rid of the whole gradation of hierarchy of honor, and he made every person in his palace abide by these rules as well, so that everybody could do whatever they wanted. Every person could do according to his pleasure and his will. So I thought that's a little bit.
Question.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
We were told that the Jews who were at the party, they were not forced to drink non-kosher wine. This is another, according to each man's desire, probably wine was kosher for people who prefer kosher wine.
Right.
Because I don't think it was a problem that they went to the party when non-kosher food was served. Because he made a point of providing everybody with, and probably would derive this idea from this.
That everybody came and did whatever they desired to.
Yeah, he provides everybody with whatever they need. Does it mean that it's a malchus wine was kosher?
Interesting. I mean, first of all, I think kosher has, there's different things about yain nefesh, which would be like wine that was, touched by a non-Jew, right? There's a lot of rules regarding that. I'm not sure if interesting about kashrut, I guess. I'm sure there were definitely systems of kashrut regarding wine, but I mean, it's a good question. Something that Malbim doesn't really touch upon so much so about the Jews attending the banquet. It is interesting though to note that. A little bit of a side point, if you look at some of the historical background on the other texts that have been given, it seems that during the Persian Empire, the Jews were used to a lot of persecution. They had just come from the Babylonian exile, where they were persecuted, notoriously. Nebuchadnezzar was a terrible ruler, and there were tons of, unfortunately, a lot of suffering on the part of the Jews. And with the Persian reign, the Jews really, for the most part, with the exception of the Purim story, which is, I think, perhaps why it was such a big to-do, because it was really during a period of really a lot of permissibility for the Jews. The Jews really could do kind of what they wanted. I mean, shortly after the Purim story is the building of the second base of Megillas. I think it happens just 4 years after the Megillah story, actually, right? I think you'll see it in there, by Ahasuerus' son, who allowed the Jews to finally build the base of Megillah. Now it happens to be that the ruler who, now this is kind of a little bit of the discrepancy, the ruler that was there before Ahasuerus, it seems that he was a Persian king who ruled just for a short time, and he was going to allow the Jews to build the base of Megillah, but then was told by, it says that some neighbors of the land of Judea, known to be mostly Samaritans, kind of convinced the king, Koresh, to not let the Jews build the second base of Megillah, fearing that they would revolt against the king and it wouldn't be a good thing for him, and so he put it on hold. And so that hold continues through Ahasuerus' rule as well. But it's an interesting point. So I mean, I can understand how the Jews would have kind of come into the scene. Malbim doesn't address it, but I could see how the Jews could come onto the scene because there was this certain sense of permissibility that the Jews could do kind of what they wanted. And I don't know about the kashrut sinners. I think a lot of people point out that Ahasuerus, even in his, we talked about the fine wool on the actual draperies and then the cords that were made of linen. So, certainly there was other things there that some people, I think there's Chazal say that he came out wearing, Big Day Kahuna. There was also right before Ahasuerus, according to other sources, that the king before that also gave permission for them to restore a lot of the vessels of the Beit HaMikdash. So, I mean, he clearly wasn't really interested in the Jews. He was just interested in himself. And that's a good question. So I think something that really is amazing to see here is what the interaction now with Ahasuerus and Vashti, and what exactly is going on here. It's very interesting. I think there's a lot that's going to come out of these psukim here. And classic Malbim is that he always takes it right from the psukim, and then hopefully I'll try to remember to plug it in for you so that you can really see how he gets it right from the pasuk. Okay, so let's now, if you're in the Hebrew, I kind of skip a page because I divided it for last class, thinking we would do it 2 different classes, but we did it this way. Okay. Now we're going to turn to Vashti. So we talked about Ahasuerus' party. Now we know Vashti also makes a party. So let's look at her party. So Gam Vashti Hamalka Asasa Mishte Nashim Beis Hamalchus Asher Lamelech Ahasuerus. So Vashti as well made a feast, a party for women in the house of the king that belonged to the king Ahasuerus. Vayom Hashvi'i Ketov Lev Hamelech Bayayin Amar Lemahuman Bizza Charbona Bigsa Vavagsa Zesar Bakarkas Shivas Asarisim Hamasharsim Espanei Hamelech Ahasuerus. On the seventh day, when the king's heart was glad and happy with wine, he says to his 7 chamberlains, the people who served the king Ahasuerus, and these are their names: Mehuman, Bizza, Charbona, Bigsa, Vavagsa, Zesar, Bakarkas. Lahavias Vashti Hamalka Lifnei Hamelech Teser Malchus Laharos Hamim V'Hasir Mesiafia Kito Basmarehi. What is his command to these chamberlains? He says he sends them to bring Vashti the queen before the king in the royal crown to show the nations and the officers her beauty, because she was very appealing. She was very beautiful to look at. And then Yudbeis Batamain Hamalka Vashti Lavo Bidvar Hamelech. And Queen Vashti refused to come by the word of the king, Asher B'yad Asarisim, through the hands of the chamberlains, Vayiksof HaMelech Me'od, and the king became furious, V'chamaso Ba'arabo, and his wrath burned in him. Okay, so it's a great question. Okay, so here we go. Here's the questions first on Malbim. And again, if you're following the English, it goes pasuk by pasuk. In Hebrew, it's all at once. So Lama Asasa Vashti Mishte B'yichud. Why does she make a separate party, an individual party? V'kara Vashti Mishte Nashim, called by the name a party for women, a women's party. Why does it add this extra detail and tell us that it was in the house of the king? And it seems very superfluous to tell us that it was the Malchus Asher Lamelech Ahasuerus. It was the kingdom that belonged to the king Ahasuerus. It seems kind of obvious. He also was picking up on the order of the words, calling her Vashti Hamalka versus Hamalka Vashti. If you look at Pasuk Tes, 9th verse, as well as the 11th verse, it says Vashti Hamalka, but in Yud Beis it says Hamalka Vashti. It reverses the name and the title. Why does it do that? And he also picks it up on a few psukim that are later. Shemor Shemalchus Eloya Mitzad Atzma. It seems to imply that her kingship, her royal ancestry, was not really indeed on her side. It wasn't hers. Pasuk Yud Beis v'Tezvav Kara Hamalka Vashti, as we pointed out in another pasuk that's not on our sheet here, but she's referred to as Queen Vashti, not Vashti Hamalka. What foolishness does this king have? Shemoshel Adir Kaze Zavel Havi Eishes Eko. Such a powerful ruler, an esteemed ruler, is going to command to bring the wife of his bosom, literally, like his beloved wife. He's going to show all these people how beautiful she is? Like, that seems, how foolish, what is he doing here? It seems ridiculous. And also Chazal tell us, Malbim doesn't pick this up here, but Chazal tell us that he requested that she be brought not wearing any clothing, so she was naked. And the quality of your astonishment, so to speak, is even intensified to see that she was commanded to be brought against her will by the hands of the chamberlains. These were the people that sort of worked in the inner chambers of the king. They weren't like, high officials that stood on guard at the king's palace, right? They worked in the under, kind of behind the scenes about things. Looks like they're bringing one of the lowly people, in front of him. Until she, to the point that she actually preferred death to living a life of the scorn and the shame that she could, she was like, so to speak, at a turning point here. Do I listen to the king and go in front of him and I'm going to live with this scorn the rest of my life? And we're going to see exactly what that scorn was, which is fascinating. Or do I prefer death? Essentially, by refusing the king, she realizes that she's putting her life on the line. Why does the pasuk, the Megillah, tell us all the names of these chamberlains, these officials? It seems like we don't really need to have this information. And again, it gives us description that they were the ones who served the king. Why do we need to know this extra detail? This is referring to the where is it? Yes. Pasuk Yud Aleph, the 11th verse, it says, "Talavi es Vashti Malka lifnei HaMelech," to bring the queen Vashti in front of the king. Seems extra to say that she should be brought in front of the king. She should be brought. Obviously, the king's there. V'lama lo amar lahavi es Vashti b'keser malchus lifnei HaMelech. He also picks up on the wording, and this is fascinating. He picks up on the wording here. It would seem smarter to write lahavi es Vashti Malka b'keser malchus lifnei HaMelech. Bring Queen Vashti wearing her royal crown before the king. But it doesn't say that. It says bring Queen Vashti before the king wearing the royal crown. The order is switched. Malbim wants to know why. Certainly she'd put on her crown before coming in front of the king. And by writing to come to the front of the king by the hands of the chamberlain, being summoned by the chamberlains, it seems that this is the reason she gives for not wanting to come. If you look at the 12th verse, it says she refuses. Why? I'm not coming with them. That's essentially what it seems like she's saying. It seems also a double response that we get from Achashverosh. First it says Vayiksof, that he's furious, and then it says when his wrath, his anger burned in him. Seems very extra. Okay, these are the questions. I think I'm getting excited. Okay. Got it. This is a great review for anybody who wasn't here last time. So we already explained in the first pasuk that Achashverosh, at the time when he took the reign, so to speak, that it was originally under the rule of Bavel and the Chaldeans. He said that in order to sort of secure his reign, he takes Vashti as a wife. He marries her. She herself, and hopefully through that, they all would sort of accept their reign. And he sort of kind of was happy that he said, listen, like the kingship is actually coming to me. Look, I've even married somebody who's an heiress to the throne. Initially, that's what his intention was. But now, now that he wants to establish himself as an unlimited ruler, and so to speak, through this, he trembled every trembling, meaning to say he spent so much effort and he invested so much of himself in almost a fear of a concern by changing a throne to the capital of Shushan, and by making this huge party. In order to, so to speak, prove to himself, to make himself worthy, as if he had conquered this kingdom by his own hand, with his own sword. And with the strong hands, he ruled over them. And essentially that's what happened. He did conquer it by his own hand. And he wanted that the officers of his province would accept him as a king, but without limits, but rather that he would rule over them as he desired. So it's like almost like he wants them to be okay with it, but he still wants to do it as he wants to do it. And now, this fact that he married Vashti is like a liability in his eyes, because through marrying Vashti, it's as if he received the kingdom, the kingship, and became a ruler through the inheritance of Vashti. It's almost as if he's kind of locked now into a structured system, into an actual kingdom. And an actual kingdom in a structure has a limited monarch. And certainly, like we just said, he is acting now as a king who is placed or elected by the nation. And his kingship, his kingdom would be bound by the practices and the laws of the people. But now he wants to show a different plot. His underlying scheme is, no. I didn't take Vashti because of her ancestry. It wasn't through her hand that I became king. Raf Aidei Yafia. And at the time that he conquered the kingdom from the hands of Babel, the actual kingdom of Babel, to his eyes, it ceased to exist. And Vashti came into his hands as a captive of war. And so almost it was like, oh, I saved her, right? And he didn't marry her, therefore, because of her ancestry and her heritage, and because she has this heiress to the throne, but because she was beautiful. I thought she was beautiful. I decided to marry her instead of killing her. I did her a favor, right? Below Ayida Ba'melucha. So again, not through her hand did the kingship come to him. Kina Fochu, Shehi Malka Al Yado. But the opposite, he's telling himself, no, she's really queen because of me. I was the one that really took the throne, and I saved her life and I spared her because I thought she was beautiful, and so I married her, not because she has this ancestry. Be'ofen shelo yitzdak l'kara b'shem hamalka Vashti, rak Vashti hamalka. So now he's picking up on the order of title versus name. And therefore it's not correct to call her by the name Hamalka Vashti, Queen Vashti, but rather Vashti the queen. Because she doesn't have any right to the throne of her own right. It's only because she's married to me, Achashverosh. That's why she's really queen. And therefore he mentions her by name before he mentions her by title. It's very subtle, but Vashti picks up on it, right? Yeah. And we're going to see how Vashti picks up on it. And the very first way we see this happen is through the party that she made. Because she is really an heiress to the throne and he is the king because of her, then certainly she should be able to make her own party for the officers as well. Just like Achashverosh is making this big party for all the big officers and the governors, so she'll also make her party for all the officers and the governors. But that's not what Achashverosh has in mind. Because to her, in her eyes, I'm really where it's at. I'm the reason why Achashverosh is king. And also, in her eyes, then the party should be in her own royal palace, a palace that is specific to her and belongs to her special. Because again, she is a queen on her own right. But this is not what happened. Rather, Vashti Amalka, who is called by name and then title, right? Again, it says that it calls her by name before title, meaning to say that the kingship, the rulership is not from her on her end of the line. Therefore, she only is able to make a party for women. Lo el asarim v'hamim, not for the officers and for the governors and the people. And she's not making it in her own palace, in her own garden, in her own anything. She's making it in my kingdom, in my palace. So she's making it in the kingdom, in the palace of the Melech Achashverosh. Remember, here we have the title preceding the name, the Melech Achashverosh, not Achashverosh HaMelech. This is going to be the Melech Achashverosh. I came before you did, Vashti. In a way that shows that she doesn't have any right to the kingdom. She doesn't have her own kingdom on her own right. Rather, her kingship, her right to the throne is only through him. So essentially, what Malbims just extrapolated from this first pasuk here is Gam Vashti Hamalka. So what is he referring to her first as? I want to prove something here, because again, what's happening now is Achashverosh realizes he's making this great party, 180 days, everything's going great, everyone realizes how much power I have, how much wealth I have, everybody can dine to excess, right? And now he realizes he's sort of establishing himself, everybody's equalizing under him, all the governors and great officials, everybody's equal to everybody else, and the servants and the slaves and the commoners, everyone's equal. Everything's going great, just according to plan, and then he realizes, oh, wait a minute, Queen Vashti, this isn't going to work out. I married her initially because I wanted to sort of plant myself in the realm of kingship, but now I realize that by doing so, it makes it look like I need her, right? And she's now a liability on my part. It looks like I need her to properly be king and properly be established as king of Persia. And he's saying, I have to make a statement. And so his statement is, so again, we have the undertones here about Vashti Amalka, again, the name preceding the title, making this party specifically for Nashim, just women. No, Vashti, you can't make it for all these governors and officials because you're not on the same level as I am, Vashti. Achashverosh is higher. And it's not going to be in your royal palace, Vashti, in your special chambers. Asher Melech Achashverosh, Beis HaMalchus Asher Melech Achashverosh. Rather, it's going to be in the kingdom, in all the courtyards, and all the fancy fare of the Melech Achashverosh, the king Achashverosh. Okay, so Pasuk Yud. Vayom Hashvi, on the seventh day, Ulaman Yaniach Sos B'Yisot HaMusad Evan Rosha Shavashti Ein Lachilek Malchus. In order to prove absolutely without a doubt that that Vashti had no portion in kingship on her own right, and that his kingdom was only on account of the fact that he conquered it, and for this purpose he has the right to rule it without limits. He also got smart in how he commanded Vashti to be brought in front of him. To show that it wasn't because of her ancestry that he married her, only because she was beautiful was why he married her. Not this alone. But that also that her right to the throne ceased to be at the time that he conquered the land, and he showed this clearly in 5 ways. Here they are. Aleph, Shativala Mahuman, so he asked this whole entourage of chamberlains, Shivas Asarisim, Shim Haisa Nechsheves Kimoleches, Bifnei Atma, Echu Viluha De Asarisim. He asked these chamberlains, these 7 chamberlains, to bring her to him, that if she really was considered a queen in her own right, he would never ask that these lowly chamberlains escort the queen Vashti in front of him. Rather, it would be only fitting that all these highest officials should go out to meet her, right? If she really is deserving of the queenship in her own right, certainly he would never send the lower servants to go fetch her, right? Shigam lo bachar, the beast, the second thing. Shigam shelo bachar shetavo yedei hasarisim hamisharsim osa. Also, he chose not to let her come, to be escorted by her own chamberlains. But no, you're coming on my chamber, by my chamberlains. I'm not giving you your own honor and your own respect, and you're not having your own things here. This is about me, and it's about my party, and therefore you're going to come on my terms. That's what Achashverosh is essentially saying. Shizat shiflus gadol lefaneha. This is the most degrading thing in front of her, right? She's going to be fetched, so to speak, by the king and all of his lowly chamberlains. Shemachshiva achas mipi like shav. It's like he's considered as one of his concubines. Asher sarisav yiviuha lefanav. That his lower servants would bring her in front of him. Okay, so get Aleph. This goes into the next pasuk. Lahavi, and again the 5 ways that he showed that her right to the throne was only through him. So number 3, Shtivat lehem lahavi shalashon marashi yiviuha ba'al karcha ke'acha shivchosav. He asked that she be brought, not to ask her gently to come, right? Bring her to me, essentially what he says, and that means against her will. She has no say in the matter. Go get her and bring her over here, just like one of his maidservants. Number 4, Shativashi vi'uha be'ofen sheyiduha kol ki mivim es Vashti hamalka lo hamalka Vashti. And he also commanded that she be brought in such a way that everybody would understand that she was Vashti Amalka, she was Vashti the queen, and not the queen Vashti, meaning in that order, with that type of precedence. Shemin bo'al lifnei hamelech yidu kol ha'amim she'ein malchusha atzmila. But from the way that she was brought before the king, everybody would realize, in order that they would all realize, that she was not the queen in her own right. This is amazing. This is that she be brought in front of the king wearing the royal crown. Meaning to say, she's not going to wear the crown until she's already approaching in front of the king. Meaning she's going to walk through the entire palace wearing nothing on her head, and right when she comes in front of the king, that's when she's going to put on the royal crown and show everybody, I'm only queen because of this man right here. So it's incredibly degrading, and that's what Malbims picks up from the actual pasuk. He says, Lahavias Vashti Amalka Malchus. It doesn't say Lahavias Vashti Amalka No, she's not wearing her royal crown, getting all dressed up nice, and then coming in front of the king, or not getting dressed according to them, right? But rather, she's coming all the way from her chambers, all the way through the palace, in front of everybody, coming in front of the king finally. And remember, there's tons of partying going on, so there's people everywhere. And so she's all this, shame, and then finally she's going to put the crown on right in front of the king. Okay. And it would then be clear to everybody that she's not wearing the crown on her own right on her own accord coming up to the king, to show that she's just a commoner like everybody else. The fifth one, yeah, it's like degrading. You don't really pick it up as much, right? But like when you pull out of the psukim, you're like, wow, it's like Esther is just an awful, despicable person. Okay. Great marriage. Right? Okay, and then the fifth way that he showed her, he degraded her. The purpose of his desire to show the nations and the officers was that he did not take her in account of her heritage, but only because of her beauty, because she was of beautiful appearance. Certainly if she would have been taken because she was an heiress to the throne and he wanted to bring in this, wonderful addition to the kingship here, then he wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't have asked her to, he wouldn't want to be publicizing her beauty. Because whether she was beautiful or ugly, he would have taken her as his, so to speak, his tag to the throne. And isn't this a shame, a disgrace to the provinces if he's going to physically and publicly display her beauty? It's as if her beauty is more important than the kingship that he would have achieved through her. But by doing this, he proved that I don't really consider her a queen in her own right at all. And he was showing that the kingship is actually mine. It's because of my conquering and my conquest. And this is another way that he wanted to show that he was establishing a kingdom without limits. Okay, v'tzima'in. And she refused. Let's just get the refusal and then I'll think about the time here. Okay, so Vashti of course picks up on this, not so subtly. Neva'er ki ma shevashti lo ratza lavo, haya al ki hevina kavanaso, sheratza leho rida mimalata shechashva arata, sheyesh lachalak ba'amalchus mitzad naflas avoseh. She refuses, and it seems very clear that Vashti understands that Ahasuerus' intention is to bring her off of her royal pedestal, so to speak, that she considered herself up until now to be of royal descendants. And this is how it understood by the word, and she refused, v'tzima'in. Ya and shehi lefita hamalka Vashti, and how does she refuse? Note the title here. She refuses because to her knowledge and to her opinion, Hamalka Vashti, I'm Queen Vashti, and therefore the kingship and the dynasty is in my hands. And therefore she didn't want to come in front of him for two reasons. The first, b'dvar hamelech, by the word of the king, Ya'an shepakad aleha shetavo ba'ofen she'yisra she'ein lachilek b'melucha v'oltava sha'keter terem bo'al lefanav, meaning by word of the king, that he requested that she be brought in such a way that would show that she didn't have any right to the throne on her own, and that's why, again, that she would wear the crown only after coming in front of him. And the second thing, Sherbiyat Asarisim. So her two reasons for refusing are because Dvar HaMelech, right? This is all the king was doing, and I'm supposed to wear the crown only when I come in front of him. Forget it. And the other thing is because you sent me through these chamberlains. This is an outrage and humiliation. I'm not coming with them. And by her refusal, she probably did more damage to the king than anything else, right? Essentially, she served to actually confound his scheme that he was trying to show and prove that he was a king and ruler on his own right. V'hi amda negdo lomar shemalchusa lo nitmach rak al yada. And she was standing against him. She was the problem, and this was his solution to trying to fix it, and she refused. So not only was she the problem, but now by her refusal and making her own name and her own statement, now she's really in my way, right? Essentially, that's what Achashverosh is thinking. And so his response is that he gets he's angry, he's infuriated. There's a difference between a fury and an inner wrath and anger. That katzef is described as being an outward expression of anger. And an anger proves that there is a certain inner jealousy that's in his heart, but it's not actually revealed with language or with any kind of body language. And here there were both components, both types of anger. The first, haketzaf hagaloi, there was this outward rage, al shesarba lasos mitzvaso shezehi beferhetia, because she publicly disobeyed the king. And the second is hachema pnimis, this inner wrath, asher ba'ara belibo, that burned inside of his heart. Al sha'al yadanis batlu kol machshavosav v'kol ma shetzarach ad hina v'hasuda laman yimluch mamlacha bilti mubelas hayatal le'efes. Because inside he had a plot going on. Other people didn't know about this plot. Inside he thought, I'm trying to become a king without walls, without bounds, and she is standing in my way. And so now all of this work and all this planning and all this partying and all this changing the capital city is now for nothing. But this is something that he couldn't actually say over. Because these plots and schemes were in the underworkings of his heart. So this was not shown as ketzef, as his outer wrath and fury, but rather as a burning anger that was inside of him only. So we look back in the pasuk real fast. So basically we have, right, Vashti Malka makes this party for women, and then specifically in the king's courtyard. On the seventh day, when the king is very happy with wine, he asks his chamberlains to go and fetch, so to speak, his queen, the ones that specifically served the king Achashverosh, not the ones that served Queen Achashverosh. He didn't want to give her any honor at all. He wanted to prove, you are my queen, and he would do as I wish, and it's all on my terms. Lavias Vashti Amalka, again, the order of the title and name, bring, again, against her will, bring Vashti Amalka, the queen Vashti, Lifnei Amelech, the Keser Malchus. First she's to come to the king and then to put on the royal crown to show that her kingship and her right to the dynasty is only on account of me. To show the nation and the officials that were there that it was I only married her because she's beautiful, right? It's not, she's no right to the kingship on her own. It's only because she's beautiful that she has anything to do with my palace. But Vashti refuses. And again, Malka Vashti, what's her first essential reason for refusing? Because I'm Malka Vashti. I'm Queen Vashti, and I have a right to the kingship on my own right. And why does she refuse? Essentially because by the Dvar HaMelech, because what he specifically asked her to do, to come before the king, only then will you put on the crown. I'm not coming with them. These are the people that you used to fetch the lowliest person. I'm not going with them. And what is Achashverosh's response? So outwardly he was furious, but inside he burned with anger because he realized this was everything that he's been working towards, about establishing himself as an unlimited monarch, is now being foiled. Okay? We'll pick up next week, I think.